We're live!
Woohoo! You know, I think I do this motion every time.
Jazz hands.
It's jazz hands. So, welcome back to Book Chats with Mostly Books. I'm Jody.
I'm Jen.
And tonight we are discussing Dreadful Young Ladies and Other Stories by, I never remember the author's name, sorry, Kelly Barnhill.
Yeah.
So, this is going to be hard to do a synopsis. I'm not even sure how to tell you to do one on this.
So it's a series of short stories. They're not really in the same world. There's like some that like maybe they connect, but like not really. But they all have the same vibe.
I say they all feel similar. Is exactly what I was thinking.
So there's one, you have like a Sasquatch in the town. You have a girl who makes magic chickens. You have a girl raised by pirates.
You have dreadful girls.
Yeah, you have dreadful girls. There's ghost boys made out of poetry. There's like a lot of weird stuff in it, but it's a collection of short stories, and they all have some sort of fantastical element, and they're all very weird.
In a wonderful way.
Yeah, in good ways.
Yep. So I feel like maybe the easiest way is probably going to be to go more or less story by story, or
do we want to like
stories?
Do all of the stories, or just do like we'll do favorites and let some of them be surprises?
Let's do favorites for sure, and we'll see what happens. But before we do all that, do you want to talk about the writing? I mean, I feel like we could talk about the writing before talking about the stories.
Yeah, it feels like there's just more gaps in it. It feels more like when you think of like literary writing.
It is more literary.
It's more lyrical, and in places you have to like kind of fill it in because it like leads you, but then you fill in parts of the emotions, and then the story like comes to an end, and you're like, oh, that was good. Except for one. There was one I was kind of like meh about.
Me too. I'm curious if it's the same one.
I think it is the same one. But so I did like that there's more gaps in it, and it makes like doing the fantasy easier because there's no like hard magic system of like you take this class, you learn this thing, and magic works this way. It's more nebulous.
More like magical realism in some ways.
That's a loaded term.
That's how I would describe it without being a loaded term type of person. I liked her writing. I thought it was very lyrical and very subtle, which I think is what you're saying with the gaps. Like sometimes she would say something and you wouldn't really realize that that's going to become a big thing later on. Like you'd be like, oh, that's cool. And then at the end you'd be like, oh my gosh. That was such a big moment and I didn't get that. I did reread a couple of the stories a second time, and I really enjoyed the second reading. I think I might have enjoyed the second reading even more but they were the ones that I loved, so there was also that.
Because you got more out of them the second time?
Yes, because you saw where she's leading you, and she did such a great job of doing that in all the different stories.
Yeah.
Everything felt very original and unique. I liked that. They were all very atmospheric.
Yeah, atmospheric.
And a little bizarre in a great way.
Yeah, they were very weird, and like weird in a good way. But not necessarily weird in a hard to understand way.
No, I think it was all... I mean, we say it's literary fiction, but it was still very attainable literary fiction. So don't be scared off if you don't read that, because I think this is very approachable.
Yeah, no.
And enjoyable as well. What did you think about the way it was laid out? Like... Did you feel like she laid these... I mean, obviously she laid the stories out in a specific order, but did you feel like that was accomplishing something? Did you like the way she did it? Did you feel like it crescendoed and came down? What did you think?
Because, like, the last one, like, The Unlicensed Magician is kind of a novella. It's the longest.
It's more of a novella.
So, like, it felt like it could stand on its own. So, like, I don't know if it would have been the crescendo, but, like, it feels like kind of we build there, and then this one's the one you, like, need the most attention span for.
Yeah, I totally agree. I felt like we were building towards that last story.
Yeah. I didn't realize, I just didn't read the title, and Other Stories, that The Dreadful Young Ladies was a story title until I got to that story title. I thought that was just going to be, like, the theme.
The theme. I actually did, too, initially.
Because I didn't read the title, apparently. And so, like, I was kind of surprised by that, and then, like, when we weren't necessarily getting that, I was like, wait, what is this?
Yeah, especially in that first story, because you're like, nobody is a dreadful young lady in this story.
Yeah, or then in, like, other ones, I'm like, well, you're not that dreadful. Like,
right.
You're okay.
And then I thought, it was going to just be like, they weren't really dreadful, but they were being, thought of as, but they weren't. But it wasn't even that either. Nope. Yeah. Nothing like that. It's just one of the stories in the book. Anything else? Do you want to talk about what we're actually talking about, the stories?
Do you want to talk about the cover because you love the cover so much?
Aside from saying I love the cover so much.
Why do you love the cover so much?
Because it's sort of steampunky, but sort of not. It kind of has elements from all the stories wrapped into this dragonfly that's kind of a dragonfly, but kind of not, with this, human head and braid.
It's her hair, yeah.
I mean, I just love it. The more you look at it, the more details, jump out. It was very captivating. I had to buy the hardback because I thought the cover was just amazing. And I love the title.
Yeah.
So that totally sucked me in. It was a well worth read.
Yeah, this is a you pick, and you don't usually do shorter formats of stuff.
I know. That was actually my only hesitancy, was the fact that it was short stories. Initially, I was like, But it's it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'll just read it.
It'll be fine. What's the worst thing that can happen? I don't like it.
Right. So, no, it was really good. I do love the cover. I kind of wish the dragonfly was on the actual hardback itself. It's not. It's just a black, but that's okay.
Better than white.
Better than white.
Better than a white hardbound. Anything's better than a white hardbound.
Yes, I agree. Okay. Well, first off, is there a story you loved?
Look at my titles again. I really like the second one. Open the door and the light pours through. That one was kind of creepy.
I liked that one a lot too.
Again, it's also very weird. I'm just going to use that a lot.
Do we just want to talk about that one?
We do. I also like Mrs. Sorensen and the Sasquatch. I thought that one was sweet.
I loved that was the opening story.
It's that one also feels very well done. It's a contained unit. It's not quite as long as Unlicensed Magician, but it just felt like a whole thing.
But you didn't need any more.
Yeah, you didn't need any more.
And it was so warm and fuzzy. Go love whoever you want to love. Yep, I liked that one a lot. Because who doesn't want to fall in love with a Sasquatch, right? I guess.
You have one on your coffee mug.
I do have one on my coffee mug.
Yeah. So you want to do? Did you? When do open the window, open the light, and the window pours through? That's not the title.
Yeah, let's talk about that one.
Open the door and the light pours through. And there's no window.
There's no window. Door. Definitely a door. Okay, do you want to give a synopsis? You want me to give a synopsis? What's your feel, friend?
You can give the synopsis.
Alright, so this one takes place, I want to say, it was one of the World Wars, but I'm not sure if we are actually ever told which
I got World War II vibes, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, there was moments I felt World War I, but I initially thought World War II. It doesn't matter. It's one of the World Wars. So the husband is being deployed, and he is sending his wife off to the countryside to be safe.
Yeah.
In England.
That's why I got World War II, because they did the whole Pied Piper and evacuation of London.
So she is boarding the train, and we see the story is told through segments of letters to each other as they are corresponding while he's in war, as well as what's actually happening in their current time. So it's here's what I wrote, but here's what I didn't write, which I really loved that part.
Yeah.
So at any rate, she gets in the train and she goes off, and then they're communicating, and she's like, your family's being really weird with me. They're not talking to me. Why is your mom so distant? And he keeps assuring her it's fine, it's fine. I don't know how detailed I should get.
But there's a reason for that. Are we doing spoilers?
I know, that's why I'm kind of really looking at you, because are we just going to do spoilers? I mean, there's short stories, so I feel like we kind of have to do spoilers, because there's not much else to lead to that.
Or it's there's a reason why, and it's...
Well, and I also wanted to talk about what his present life is, what's happening in his present life as well.
Okay, yeah, let's go for it then.
Okay, so spoilers. We're just going to dive into this book and go.
Spoilers 6 times each time we start a new story.
Pretty much. So in his current time, he's dating these other, an American soldier, and kind of having these really other life, I guess. But he still obviously is very attached to his wife as well, even though he's
and you're
definitely
kind of what's going on?
Having an affair. But you're okay. So as we keep going, and I mean, these letters are so tender and just so like heartwarming. I loved the letters. And towards the end, she starts to be like, there's, you know, there's all this light. I don't know what's happening. And then there's one where she's just like words, like kind of like a kind of a poem style.
It looks like a poem almost.
Yeah. And so you're like, what is happening now? And at one point he's like telling her, like, if you see anyone who's passed, maybe you should go talk to them. If you see a door, maybe you should go. And you hit the end and find out that she unfortunately died in the train.
She never got
She
to the
never
house.
even made it to the manor.
Yeah.
And he's still getting these letters. And he's trying to, like, help her move on to the next whatever.
Yeah. And there's all these bits about seeing ghosts in the windows, and it's just...
I know, she's like, all the while she's haunting his family.
She's haunting them, and
like,
yeah.
the poor butler, like, she's all out haunting him. He's like avoiding the room that she's hanging out in, the music room. It's like, oh, I mean, I don't know, like, there were so many clues leading you to that moment that you're like, how did I, well, at least for me, I thought, how did I not see this much sooner?
Yeah, like, I got to the point, because, like, when it starts talking about ghosts, I'm like, is she? And I'm like, no, but, like, they're just being weird, and it's like, oh, no, she's like, well, she's dead.
The fact that he keeps responding, you're like,
yeah,
there's something.
There's something here, like, other people acknowledge you.
Yeah, and even, like, the way the family were interacting, it sort of did really feel like they were just giving her a cold shoulder, like, ugh.
You're here.
You're here, the wife we never wanted to see. So I did, and then, like I said, I reread this one, and it tells you so early on where he has the dream of her, like, hearing the train basically crash, and he wakes up crying, and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I not know, like, 3 pages in? It was here. She totally told me right out.
I just didn't get it.
I just didn't get it.
Over your head.
Yep, just over it. But I loved that one. I thought it was so beautifully done.
Yeah. That's one of the shorter ones, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
And so therefore he's not having an affair.
No!
Just saying.
Everyone's just sad. Everyone's just sad and can't move on in some kind of way.
And he's exploring a whole nother side of him, which is really great. And maybe he can actually, like, feel comfortable with that. So that was cool. Maybe
someone will be happy in this story, because, like...
I know, right? A lot of these stories have some really sad moments.
Kind of, like, mournful, even if they aren't outright sad.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, hauntingness to them all. And they all feel very much about, like, finding love and, like, how you do that and the consequences of, I guess, that. Not that
and
there
different kinds of
be.
Love.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I have 2 favorite stories. Did you have any other favorite stories?
I liked Elegy to Gabrielle.
I also liked that.
I like pirates.
Yep. That was going to be one of mine as well. I knew when I read that one, I was like, Jen's going to love this one.
I have a type. It's fine.
It was fine. Like, yeah. Do you want to do this synopsis? And you do much better synopsises than I.
But these I get distracted.
I know, right?
So it's like we start, like, I like the title too, and I like elegies.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why they all seem kind of mournful to me, because, like, elegy is just like you're missing something. Sometimes they're poems about death, but sometimes it's just that there's something that you miss. So it's elegy.
So, like, that's such a... That would just put everything into perspective. Thank you for putting it that way.
So it's Elegy to Gabrielle, patron saint of healers, whores, and righteous thieves. Which is just a great title.
Great title.
But it's like she grows up in, like, this convent holy order. And then eventually there's, like, they're, like, keeping her there and, like, keeping her safe. And then there's a pirate ship, and there's, like, a prophecy, like, she'll go. And then she does, even though they try to keep her there. And it just follows, like, all her adventures.
This one I totally wanted so much more from, because I wanted to go on all of her actual, like, adventures, because she kind of, like, you know, gloss over.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because it's a short story, but I could have been like, oh man, if you ever expand this, I will totally read it.
And it's just, she goes on her pirate ship and makes, I don't want to give all of it away with my plot summary, even though we're going to do spoilers anyway.
I say I might as well.
Because,
sorry,
like,
guys.
It's kind of like how I felt with the Starless Sea. That I want how it's written and how it's told. I want the reader to, like, put it together, because, like, that one you want them to put it together,
I know, but I want to talk about this one.
Okay, you should talk about this one.
So I loved this one. I loved that her mother had all these healing powers, and I love that she healed the pirate who then essentially trained her daughter. I loved how circular all of that was. I loved that the beginning is like you're reading that beginning part that is from somebody who's passed, and you don't know exactly who that is yet, but he's like, this is maybe just the madness of the ocean just talking. I'm not sure if anyone will even find this or will understand this. I thought that part set it up so perfectly.
I like how, it's like curator's note.
Yeah.
The following pages were found in a cave on an islet 11 miles southwest of Barbados. The narrative is, of course, incomplete, disjointed, and unreliable.
Yeah,
and
right?
that sets you up to be like, okay, what am I reading?
I know, right? Yeah, and then you just read this great story about this girl who becomes a pirate at age 15 and is like, you know, freeing everybody on these slave ships. I mean, she does amazing things, but unfortunately comes back to the island.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It ends okay.
And, like, she has, like, kind of magical powers.
Yeah,
like,
she inherited some of her mom's
gifts. They call her a witch at one point, and it's like, we have a witch, we have, like, a revolutionary, and a pirate, and it's all one girl.
All one person.
And it's like, this is amazing.
Yeah, because she could do a lot of the healing that her mom could do and could see the pathways of their, like, if there was a way to save them, she could do that. And if their path was ending, unfortunately, she couldn't do that, which
it's like,
that's happening. So I loved the relationship of the mom and the daughter and the priest that was her dad. That wasn't her dad.
That was...
But we weren't allowed to talk about.
That's a whole thing.
And, you know, she does a lot of bird things in this book. Have you noticed that
there are a lot
as
of
well?
birds.
Because she had the red parrot in this one. And, I love that they all got familiars. Like, once her mom would save you from whatever ailment you had, she would create a familiar. And I love that was, like, basically, she took the ailment out and created a familiar. So you had to keep your familiar alive to stay. I liked that. That's totally something I'm into. So this was a really cool story.
There are birds, because in the last story, the girl is called Sparrow.
Yep.
Isn't there feathers in... Is it the Ronia Drake one?
Yes.
Like the creepy feathers and...
Yes, like all that was left were feathers and something.
Yeah, I was like, what happened?
She has a thing with birds and insects.
There are a lot of insects.
Because there's insects in the last one, there's insects in the Rona one. And the insect...
Ronia.
Ronia, sorry. And the insect in the one that's titled with that.
The insect and the astronomer.
Yeah. But I really liked this one with the birds and the way Gabrielle uses the birds to help her.
Yeah.
So.
It was good. It was it's like, that one's not as weird as the other ones. There's weirder ones.
Agreed. There are weirder ones. But it was such a good story. Yeah. And again, they're just also happy in some ways. Like, it was a happy story until it wasn't, but then it was happy again. So, just keep reading on that one. Okay.
What is the one that you were iffy about?
The insect and
okay, that's
the
one I was iffy about. Because it's like, it's fine.
I just didn't
was kind of
care
boring
about the plight of this poor insect, and I'm sorry, I maybe should. I don't know. I tried to like it, I couldn't. Maybe if I reread it, I will, but...
I felt so let down because there were parts of it that I really liked. Like, there's footnotes in it.
Yeah.
Which is super weird. There's no footnotes in any of the other stories. This one's just particularly weird. There's Latin in it, and, like, that I was fine.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes things translate Latin, like, incorrectly or, like, way too, like, loose with its translation. I'm like, that's not what that... No! It just makes me mad. And then, like, the end is kind of sweet. Like, the insect and the astronomer, like, are kind of sweet together. But the whole story is the insect getting to the astronomer's tower.
Oh my god, it takes forever.
And it takes forever, and, like, nothing happens.
He just keeps walking.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I really struggled with that one. I almost didn't finish that one, to be honest, but I did. It was a slower paced. My other favorite
Walking
one...
paced.
Sorry. My other favorite, if we can do my other favorite, is, because I can't remember titles either. It's the Roan... What was her name?
Is it taxidermist other way?
No. that one we can talk about, but no, it was Notes on the Untimely Death of Rona Drake. I liked that one a lot.
Ronia Drake.
Ronia Drake. Why do I keep
Every time you say
forgetting?
Rona, I think of the virus. And I'm just like, no.
Take off that I. Ronia Drake. I liked that one. Okay, so my favorite part about that one.
With this one, because I was like,
totally understand.
Wait, what happened?
So my favorite part about this is the second chapter, where like each paragraph more or less starts with "Once upon a time, there was a girl who wanted to be a princess."
Oh yeah, it does the whole fairy tale
allegory.
Yeah. Yep, that one.
Once upon a time, there's a little girl who came into a little bit of magic. Oh, I love that. That paragraph was my favorite. Because what maybe came into wasn't right. Maybe I just took it. But we're going to say came into because people inherit money and they come into money then. I loved this one. So this one is about a gal and her husband, and then they eventually separate because he starts seeing another person, and they have two little girls. They're twins. But I'm gonna spoil this one big time. Sorry, guys.
Good, because I had questions about this one.
So the princess is she becomes the new wife.
Yeah.
So she basically steals the husband from Ronia, and then ends up like killing her in this weird, like horrific, sudden way. I'm not really sure exactly how she kills. Oh, it's the water. Don't go into puddles. So she's doing water magic, and so Ronia is out running in the forest, and somehow she doesn't really explain the water magic very well, other than the new wife is sitting and looking into water and watching her, and then somehow she basically like slices her into many little pieces.
Dismembered and like cut into pieces. I remember
tiny little pieces where they find like 10 toes all around. Yeah. Because she hit the water, and because they both were doing, it's water magic. Yeah. That's how she controlled it. So anyway, I really liked that one. I don't know. I loved that the evil princess was the mistress, whatever.
I remember liking it.
And then she ends up in an asylum. Yeah. Which is really not great, but she kind of did go a little crazy at the end. Yeah. Where she has, like, Ronia's arm attached to her arm because of what she did, and then she's, like, trying to, like, hack it off. And then the guy goes and tries to find his real family. So he wasn't really a bad guy. He just made magically choices. Manipulated.
Yeah, I remember liking it, but then I remember being like, but how do you have that?
The arm? That part was weird.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, where? Yeah, it like kind of devolves at the end because it gets like super nuts.
Yeah, where like she becomes a deer and the girls become crickets, and he forgets about everything. Bugs. Yeah, but he sees this deer in the forest with blue eyes, and he feels this fondness for it, so he's going to go in search of his family.
As one does.
As one does. But yeah, and they actually found the mistress's hand.
Yeah.
Where Rona had died. Ronia, thank you. Where Ronia had died, and her hand was with her. Yeah, and the writing in that one was so good. The whole princess stuff was so well written.
Fairy tale allegories are fun.
Oh my gosh. And you didn't really get it at first. At first I thought Ronia was going to be the one who tricked the
mistress,
the witch to get the magic, I guess, initially. But it wasn't. It was the mistress. I liked it. She kind of had a bad ending. But if you're going to do bad magic, you kind of, it comes back around.
It comes back
karma and, rule of 3, all of that.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So I had a couple others that I thought we could talk about.
Yeah. I was looking at the taxidermist's other wife.
Yes, that was the other one. And then the last one.
Oh, let's do the last one.
You want to do that one first before the taxidermist other wife?
Yeah, let's not go chronologically in the book because I really like the last one.
Okay. What do you want to talk about? Do you want to tell us what the last one's about?
Yeah, it's about a girl who can make chickens.
Among other things.
But, like, she's born, and there's, like, a comet also, and the comet's, like, vaguely influencing it. And she has magic and, like, some sort of control over it. Sort of. But anyway, she's born, and Marla, like, takes her in, but the junk man also like carries her around, so these are like her two parents.
Yes.
Her various parts of her life.
They were wonderful.
And they're in this like weird little, not post-apocalyptic, but like dystopian kind of town, and there's like this voice, the Vox, literally the voice, always just talking like out of the radio. That reminded me.
Oh yeah, that radio is
Yeah.
crazy.
And then the minister who's like doing bad magic or like trying to like tamp down on it.
He's trying to take all the magic for himself so he
Yeah.
can build his tower up to reach the comet, which is going to have all the magic.
And then there's this little girl going like growing up in this and like doing weird magic. But then there's other parts of the story, like a different thread of this boy who like gets to know her, and like they're very sweet together.
They are sweet together.
It's not told linearly, which is why it's so hard to explain.
Yeah, well, and like everything she does in this book, things aren't what they initially seem.
So eventually, like, the girl grows up and like saves the town. She like restores magic to all of it because she's been doing these weird little instances of it that have been drawing too much attention to her.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, she like breaks the dam and the magic flows. The minister disappears. She disappears. Jonah forgets her.
No, yeah.
Until he doesn't. Until he remembers her, and then it's like.
That ending was so good, but so sad.
It's so bittersweet. It's so bittersweet because it's like you didn't. Because he's like, I won't forget you. I'll remember. But then it's like you kind of have this understanding. It's like, oh no, you're still gonna forget her. You're still going to. But then he like remembers her at the very end.
Yeah, when he comes running out, I remember.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I liked that one. That one had some great magical elements to it.
I liked all the chickens.
I liked the chickens too. That was really just one chicken that just kept getting copied.
Yeah, because wasn't that one chicken like not laying eggs or something, or she was worried about that one chicken dying?
I think she was worried about. I think Marley was worried about it passing. Yeah, and so the girl Sparrow just kept making them.
Yeah, so there's like 10 of this one chicken.
Yeah, I really liked in this one too how many people kind of unknowingly were really what resulted in Sparrow surviving and growing up to save them. I mean, they all made these choices that led to this, and I was really happy they all made those choices.
Yeah.
And even like when you hear the minister's backstory, this is a totally different tangent. I'm not sure how I led to that.
The tangent's also in there.
Yeah, but it was interesting to hear that, and like kind of heartbreaking, and then it was satisfying when she more or less like released him to be over his resentment towards his mother and his like search for this magical ability. Like she kind of just said, "It's okay. You don't have to do that anymore.
You can be free now." And I like how it was told because we jump between times. So we jump in like the present time that's leading up to her like setting magic free, and then we jump back to like the then when she's a baby and a child. So we go like back and forth a lot, and it's like kind of hard to keep track of because no one has names. Or like most people don't have names. We have like the junk man or Sparrow or Jonah gets a name.
Marla gets a name. Minister doesn't get a name.
The constable or they're like the egg woman. The egg woman who's Marla.
Yeah, but I think she's called the egg woman a lot before you find out she's Marla.
Yeah. Or it's the baby or the girl.
Yeah.
And so it's like that also kind of feels like a fairy tale because no one has a name.
So much of this too felt like it'd be perfect for like oral storytelling. Like you can just hear somebody sitting down and telling these stories.
Yeah,
like you just around a campfire or something. I don't know. I liked that.
I did too. I liked it. So that one was good.
That one was really good. It was well worth the read to get to that novella at the end. I mean, not that I don't know. I enjoyed all of them. Well, except the one. Before we go to taxidermy, what did you actually... Oh, go ahead.
Because it's like that much of the book. Like this whole back part is just one novella. Or The Unlicensed Magician, and the rest of this is the other stories. So it's like a third at least. Maybe more. I mean,
it's a good portion of the book, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of the book's titled story, Dreadful Young Ladies?
I remember liking it, but that I wanted like more of it because it gives you like very short sections of different dreadful young ladies
who were really dreadful.
And it's like each one could have been longer, but each one also it's like punchy, short and punchy. So I didn't mind it, but I didn't dislike it. But I also was like, this isn't the one that stood out the most to me.
It wasn't my favorite one by any means either. I really wanted to like that one more because I love, again, the title is fabulous.
Yeah.
They weren't the dreadful young ladies I expected either. Again, I kind of thought that they would be, I don't know, just I mean, these guys were pretty bad. Like, one's trying to lose a child, and I don't know. They were dreadful for sure. Not the way I thought they were going to go.
Maybe I made that up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, I liked, it was good.
Yeah.
It was not the most memorable one, which was funny since it was the title of the book.
Since it's kind of the most memorable title.
Yeah. Yep. What do you want to say about the taxidermy?
That's just weird.
That one was the one of the weirdest, I think.
It's just like, taxidermy is already kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh my gosh, what is with us and taxidermy?
We read Lockwood Manor. That was very creepy. And then this one is just like, it's the eyes do it to me. I'm like, there's too many eyes. And then,
because didn't he basically like create a wife?
That's
like,
what I think it was.
Yeah, out of like what his wife, like his wife passed, and so he basically made a taxidermy copy of her, who was basically a shell, if I remember.
Yeah, but then it's like they're like like no one likes her.
Yeah.
And like there was no funeral for the first wife, and they all liked the first wife, so that was weird. But then,
because they all knew to some extent, I think.
They all
like they didn't know,
wrong.
but they knew something was off. Yeah, the town.
And then like the end is weird because they're like, and we love the taxidermist's other wife. Like we love her, and it's like it's like when someone tries to tell you something so many times to convince you of it that you automatically don't believe them.
Weren't they kind of afraid that they would suddenly go missing, and he would make copies of them?
I think
was it that sort of like the underlining
the
tension of that?
Yeah.
Because why else would you be like, but we love her. No, she's great. She's the bee's knees.
Yep.
Am I making that part up?
I don't think you are, because
okay.
there is the threat, because I thought he replaced his wife, and that there was this threat that he could like replace all of them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
But then that's so weird. You're not going to live in a town
why
of
wouldn't
people.
You move?
Why wouldn't you move?
No, we're staying despite him.
Or why wouldn't he move if he's just going to replace the whole town? Like, why don't you just go find a different place to be? Yeah. It's that one, like,
unsettling.
Unsettling, and that doesn't get resolved, really. It's just, like, this lingering threat. Like, the taxidermist doesn't really get what's coming to him. And you want him to.
Yeah, I remember being like, that was an end, okay.
that was an end.
Yeah. Okay, any others you want to talk about? I mean, we've talked about most of them at this stage. I think the last one we haven't talked about was the
We didn't talk about the Dead Boy's last poem, but I didn't really like that one either.
It was okay.
Like, I didn't like him.
I didn't like him.
And then, like, but as it went on, I felt sorry for him.
Me too.
Because it's just, like, you want him to move on, but then you realize, like, he can't. And that's sad.
That was sad. I agree. Is that the only other one we didn't talk about?
That's the only other one we didn't talk about. We mentioned all the other ones.
Well, look at us.
To some length or other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked this more than I thought I would, and that says a lot for an anti-short story person. I'm trying to become more into, because, there's some really great ones out there, and I need to be more aware of that. Any other thoughts for you?
I liked it. I liked how weird it was.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some, like, novels you'll read once in a while that are just weird. When we had Time War, like, that one's a little weird to me, too.
Mm-hmm. In a totally different way, but yes.
Yeah, in a totally different way, but also, like, that was strange. It's hard to explain.
Mm-hmm.
These are hard to explain because they're short stories.
Well, that was it.
But I did like them. I liked the fantasy elements in them. It's, like, softer fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Softer magic, and it's just kind of, it's neat to read. It's different from other things we've been reading lately.
Yeah, and like I said, I really liked rereading the stories. Like, did you read that front to back, or do you read, like, I'm going to read this story and then go back and read this story and, like, hop around? Me neither. I
read
just
it front to back.
Me too. I'm not surprised on that either. But I did, after I went through the whole book, like I said, went back and reread a couple, and it had really great reread value. Mm-hmm. I might actually do that with some of the others as well. Because I don't know, you just get so much more, because so much of it was so subtle and like not told flat out to you, so you're like, huh, wait, did I read that right? So what are we reading next week?
We're reading The Guinevere Deception by Kirsten White, and it's an Arthur retelling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know yet. I'm just going by the title. Haven't started it yet, but it's about Guinevere.
Yeah, I think it's a more like feminist approach to the Arthurian legend.
Well, I would hope so, because everyone blames Guinevere for breaking Camelot.
And I think we're gonna, that's my understanding. I mean, I haven't read it yet either, but we will know next week.
And it's fantasy, so I'm hoping for magic. I'm pretty sure there's a dragon in one of the later books.
Could there not be magic in Camelot?
I don't know.
I mean, have you been to a Camelot without magic? Have you been to Camelot?
No. The only other like King Arthur one I've read was set in space.
Oh yeah.
Once in Future, up above you.
Why can't I see it? Oh yeah. That one also Arthurian retelling.
Yeah, and that's like set in space.
That's kind of a fun take.
That one was fun. That one was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna read this. Yeah, this one, and the book is beautiful. Like, look at this.
I also like the book. I had to take my cover off and look too. It's pretty, and I don't mind the mustard color.
Oh, please don't call it mustard. It's fine if you say gold.
Okay, fine. It's just I don't mind the gold color.
Now I'm gonna think of it as mustard.
What's wrong with mustard? Are you an anti-mustard?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I will not refer to it. I will say gold from here on out.
Mustard is not a superior condiment.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent on that. So anyway, tune in next week. You can always pre-order. I say pre-order in the sense of pre-getting it before us spoiling it. But it is out already.
Do we have the fun thing still?
We do have a few Kirsten White signatures on book plates. And they're pretty. Have a couple of the postcards, but not as many of those.
Yeah.
But I do have signings if you want a book plate to put into your book.
Yeah.
So you can call and get those at Mostly Books. You can also order on our website, mostlyBooksAZ.com. And of course, you can also listen to an audio version on Libro FM. Mm-hmm. And then we won't spoil it all for you next week, because we will.
This one, like, we were talking about this, like, how many spoilers are we going to actually have? Because, like, there's a general story of, like, King Arthur and whatever. So it's like, some of it.
I mean, you're going to know some of it.
And then there's going to be some of it that's going to be, like, actually spoilers.
So tune in, and we'll find out.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.